Good morning and welcome to the December meeting of the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission. I'm Harold Cannon, Chair of the Commission, and I'll be overseeing today's festivities. And it looks like we got a lot of folks dressed up for the season. I have asked Commissioner Cox if he would to lead us in the invocation and pledge. So if you would stand, please.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you so much as we approach this joyful Christmas season. We thank you for the many blessings that you've given us. So many times we come to you when we've got problems and heartache and don't stop to look around and thank you for the many things that you've done for us. We ask you to bless our country, lead, guide, and direct our new president. He makes wise decisions. Bless our servicemen and women. Bless the wonderful people in this agency for the fine job they do, and the commission that our decisions will be pleasing to you. And we ask you to, especially to help the people around Gatlinburg and East Tennessee that have lost lives and property and lost everything, to touch them and give them some hope. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Cox, as always, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Danette, would you call the roll, please?
Chad Baker,
Here.
Jim Bledsoe,
Here.
Jeff Cook,
Here.
Bill Cox,
Here.
Kurt Holber,
Here.
Connie King, Jeff McMillan,
Here.
Jim Ripley,
Here.
Bill Swan,
Here.
Trey Teague,
Here.
David Watson,
Here.
Jamie Woodson, Harold Cannon.
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Danette. Commissioners, you have received by email a copy of the minutes from our October meeting. Are there any questions or comments? I have a motion for approval by Commissioner Swan. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second by Commissioner Cook. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes from our October meeting are approved. Again, welcome. We got a lot of folks in here, and for some reason we got a shrub on the front row. I don't know what that is, but anyway, it's great to have everyone here. We truly appreciate you being a part of this session. If you would, it's become a tradition here. The first thing we say is if you've got a cell phone, if you just put it on silent. I'm not going to ask you to turn it off because you may want to do some texting. Particularly a picture that may be coming up here soon, but do put them on silent for us today. Boyd, we appreciate you being here today. Thank you. He is faithfully representing the Department of Agriculture. We don't have that many items on the agenda. We have some presentations. However, we do have a couple of items that will require commission action today. There's one item with the Wildlife Committee, and then there are a few budget amendments that will go to the Budget Committee. Because this is a one-day meeting, those matters will be presented to that committee, voted on by that committee, and then we will vote on it as a commission. If you have any comments or questions regarding the matter at hand, what we would ask you to do is come up to the microphone, state your name, your address, the matter that you're speaking to, and please direct your comments to the chairperson of that committee, not to our staff. The other thing that we have worked very hard at, and it's successful only when the public does its part, and the great thing is it has been a good year for this, and that is we want this session to be conducted with the utmost respect both ways. You expect and deserve that from us, and we work very hard to honor that. Likewise, in spite of sometimes what has happened prior to November in the politics, we ask that this be conducted with respect. I reserve the right to cut off any discussion that is repetitive or seems to be going over time. We do ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes unless you are doing a specific presentation that's already been approved. I'm going to hold as far as asking for the commission to have any comments. Director Carter, do you have any comments you want to share at this time? With that said, let's get with it. Commission recognizes Doug Markham, Communication Manager, and he wants to talk about some shrub that's about to come up here, something that looks like a shrub to me anyway.
I'm actually the introducer of the introducer. But I do have a little bit of story to tell before I get there. Stephen Tucker's here today, his wife's here today, and Dale will tell y'all who's here today. But a few weeks ago, we got a call. I got a text from a friend, Melvin McLaren. He's an officer, part-time officer for us boating, and he said there's a possible new record in Sumner County. And though I hunt some or used to, I'm more of a fisherman, and my first thought, there's no way Old Hickory's got a new largemouth bass record. Well, it didn't take long. I started hearing from Dale Grandstaff, who's going to give you a cool presentation here in a minute. It wasn't long that I started hearing from him, and in the meantime, Barry Cross had done a post out on our out on our Facebook page, and it was about an event that Dale had over on Fort Campbell. Dale has an event every year for kids, and the deer up there, y'all know, are humongous. And so there was a big kid with a big deer, and then below that picture was a photograph of Stephen's the rack on that antler, and it went to 350,000 just off of our website. And I thought, golly, you're off our Facebook. I thought, this is really cool. So I started getting with Dale and talking to him about what we needed to do, and we started putting together a story because we want to document these historic moments. In the past, some of our records have not been documented well, and they come into question. So we didn't want this to come into question. We started documenting. We were going back and forth about what to say. Dale was correcting everything that I was writing, making sure it was right, and we were putting it out on Facebook. And just before I was ready to send it out there with this new photograph he sent me, he said, "What's your title?" And I said, "It's Sumner County Buck, potential state, probably state record, potential world record." And he said, "Can we change that title?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Make it the Tennessee Tucker Buck," which was perfect. So I put Tennessee Tucker Buck. Dale knows his deer. He knows every deer, everyone that's ever been named. Dale is a wildlife officer for a long time in Montgomery County. He's now a captain, and he knows more about deer than anybody, just about anybody I know, except for a deer biologist, of course. But anyway, he loves his deer, and was giving me all this information. I hit send, and a couple of days later, it'd gone to another 750,000 folks. This is how much interest there is in this deer that Stephen has bagged over in Sumner County. And on as a side note, I was talking to Mike Organ. He gave me a call. Mike's a reporter at the Tennessean, and Mike was working the night of the elections, Clinton versus Trump. But Clinton versus Trump did not compare to the Tucker buck. He said the comments that were out on the page that night between the elections and between that buck, it wasn't even close, that the buck was running way ahead of both of them. And he said the political reporters were very upset about that. So this buck has created a lot of interest, and we don't know in time if it's going to remain, if it will be the world record buck, but we do know that it's going to be one of the most elite free-roaming whitetail deer ever taken in America, or ever taken in the world. And it didn't come from Iowa, and it didn't come from Illinois. It came from Sumner County, Tennessee. Anyway, Dale he's an interesting person. He's a great officer, and he's going to come up here, and he'll introduce you to Stephen and his wife and his friend that helped out with the scoring on that night, and he'll give you a really good talk. You're going to learn something about whitetail deer in Tennessee. Dale Grandstaff.
This will be a little bit kind of unconventional. Yeah. Not a PowerPoint, but just some photographs that I wanted to bring to show you guys that I think the first night that I met Stephen, I said, okay, get ready. You're going to get some comments. You're going to get negative. You're going to get positive. Anytime a big deer is killed, it's going to happen. And I've seen that on social media and kind of since that day. So what I wanted to do is kind of give you just a quick presentation of where we are as a state, how we got there, and then and just kind of dispel a few rumors and show you why we can say this is truly a Tennessee deer, because there's characteristics of this deer throughout the past several years taken in counties throughout the state that we don't really know about unless we bring them up to a position like this. This is our current state record deer. It's the David Whitetail buck, and it was killed in 2000 in Sumner County. So our current state record is from Sumner County. It's a 49 scoreable points, and it has similar characteristics to Stevens' deer that he killed this year. We'll go to the next one. This is a deer killed in, this is Justin Samples' buck. It was killed in 2001. It's our number 2 deer in the state. Has similar characteristics as this deer killed in Sumner County this year. So what I say similar characteristics, it's like a cluster. It's not a typical, non-typical deer, if you can kind of wrap your mind around that. The non-typical rack that you typically, that you think about, will be a couple slides over, but go to the next one. This is another Haywood County deer, same type of rack, a cluster rack. This deer was killed in 2007 in Haywood County. 227 and 2/8 was the net, and the 37 points on this one. Similar type rack. They're normal at the base, and just after they pass the G1 or the brow tine, they kind of explode and do something kind of crazy. Next one. Similar rack. This deer was killed in Madison County in 2009. Another cluster buck. It scored 175 and 2/8 as a 24 pointer. Okay. Okay, this deer is the Charlie Falk buck. It was killed in 2009, or 2013, excuse me. It's 191 net. We have that actual deer here today. This is another buck from Sumner County. Similar characteristics, similar style rack. So the reason I wanted to show these deer and these racks is because we have a lot of people, even people across the country, calling saying there's no way this is a Tennessee deer. We have these characteristics in the state, and we've had them for years. We just really haven't had one this big. The Charlie Falk buck, 191 net. I think it's got about 37 also, 30 points scoreable. Sumner County, just down the road from where Stephen killed his, pretty much in the same general area where the current state record, the Whitetail buck, was taken. Okay, thank you on that one. This is Eric Anderson. He's our Sumner County officer, so he was aware of this deer also about 2 weeks before it was taken, knowing that it was a free-range deer. Steve Kelly, if you would stand up a second, and just hold this rack up that he's got. This is a shed. We believe, this came from Sumner County, we believe this shed is from that deer from the year before. So the reason I bring that up is people were saying, well, where are the pictures of this deer from the year before? Well, I don't think you've got any pictures of this deer from the year before that looks like that. I think you said maybe someone sent you a picture of a 10-pointer that they thought was this deer. So what I believe is going on is something's happening with these antlers causing this malformation, malfunction, this growth that maybe not genetic, but it may be something environmental. Don't know. But we're pretty sure this rack is from that deer from the year before. So the trail camera pictures of that deer from the year before would look totally different from trail camera pictures of that deer the year it was harvested. Yes. No, I'm sorry. The one on the mounted deer. The mounted deer. Yes, the mounted deer. I'm sorry. The mounted deer. The mounted deer, this, we think, is the shed from that deer from the year before. Picked up in the same, basically same spot that this deer was killed. But just another idea, just gives you an idea of what Sumner County's growing, what we can grow, the potential that we have in the state. I'm going to go straight to the other. Yes. Okay, the one unique thing that I noticed about this Tucker buck when I first saw it, they actually pointed out to me. They had the jawbone when I went to score it that night on November the 7th, and they said, he doesn't have any front teeth. And so I'm like, I've never heard of that or never seen that. So they handed me the jawbone, and if you look closely, the front incisors, there are no front incisors on this deer. There were no places for it. It wasn't, they weren't worn down, they weren't pulled out, they weren't knocked out. There just were no front incisors on the lower jaw. So that just tells me that this deer couldn't really browse like a deer would normally browse. Couldn't eat the way deer normally eats. So it's going to eat leafy matter. It can pick up acorns. It can pick up corn. It can pick up beans. But it's not going to be browsing. It'd be like somebody that doesn't have any teeth trying to bite into an apple or trying to bite a twig into. So his diet had to be different, or his diet throughout the year had to be different from most deer. Could attribute to why it's so crazy or why the rack is like that. Just speculation. Just keep going through those. But just gives you an idea. The jawbone was small, not a big deer. I think they estimated about 150 pounds maybe, live weight. Yeah, not a big deer. I think initially we said that this deer was probably 3.5, but after looking at it closer, I believe it's more of a 4.5-year-old deer, just with the wear on it. Just kind of keep going through those. And then I've got a few slides of the night that we scored it. Stephen Kelly, who is a friend of mine, he came over and helped me score it that night. I knew I'd have somebody to kind of help hold the tape and write down numbers. The score sheet, I've never had to get extra score sheets, but for this one there were 37 non-typical points, and the Boone and Crockett score sheet only has room for about 10 or 15. So I had to get extra sheets out. Steve and I, when we did the right side, we looked at each other, and I added it up, and I said, let me look at this right side real quick. And when I added it up, the number, we looked at each other, and we knew this number was huge. We'd never seen a number like this before. And we both looked at the other side, the left side, and we knew the left side was a little bit bigger, and we both said 300 inches. And that's something as a hunter, an officer, an agency employee, to have your hands on a 300-inch deer is something that you really never think about doing, because you think of it as kind of unattainable for the state of Tennessee. But it was definitely 300 inches. And I grossed it out at 313 and 2/8, and it netted 308 and 3/8. And that puts it about a 1/2 inch above the current world record. Just got to kind of go through those. Gives you some side view, front view, back view. Just shows the amount of points on it. What I wanted to kind of, if you can blow that up a little bit. This is the current world record. It is 307, I think 307 and about 5/8. It was killed in Iowa by a 15-year-old boy. This is the cover of North American Whitetail. It says biggest buck ever shot. That I know, I've talked to North American Whitetail. That's probably going to be a similar cover in the spring, their spring edition. They're going to do a North American Whitetail, and they're going to feature this deer on the cover. So if it becomes in January the new, it will definitely be the new state record, no doubt. If it becomes the new world record, this similar cover shot will be on North American Whitetail, which in the whitetail world, for people to get on the cover, the North American Whitetail is kind of the highlight of a hunting career for whitetails. Okay, with that, just I know a lot of people want to see the deer, have talked about the deer. What I wanted to do was just give you an idea that I've heard a lot of rumors across the country of people, there's no way that's a Tennessee deer. And what I wanted to show you is that we have been growing deer like that. We just haven't really had this extreme amount of antler growth. And just so people would understand that we have them, we can grow them. And this is just an exceptional deer that's grown right here in Middle Tennessee in the state, in Sumner County. And if Stephen, if you would mind standing up, introduce you to Stephen Tucker and his wife. I'm sure at the break, probably people want to get a picture of it, but this gives you an idea at the, not a massive deer, but a lot of points. 47 scoreable points. It has 2 completely broken off points, which would have made it 49, and has a few chipped or broken points. My guess is that it would have went closer to 330 gross had it had the other points on it. The absolute biggest in the world is around 333, which there's 2 that were found that were in the 333, 327 range. But as far as hunter killed, this could be the biggest ever shot by a hunter in the world. Okay. just so you know what the next step for this rack is, we're going to score it. I'm an official scorer for Boone and Crockett. I've been doing it since 2003, and I've scored a lot of deer. I remember the first one that I scored that went net typical. I remember the first one I scored that went net non-typical. For a typical, it has to be 170 net. For a non-typical, 195. The next step for this rack is in January. He's going to come back here with it. We're going to sit down and score it. And when I say panel score, what I mean is I'm going to have some of our agency Boone and Crockett scorers. They're going to come in and stand here and help me, but I'm going to bounce ideas off of it. If you wouldn't mind stand one more time and show the rack. You can kind of see how difficult this rack is going to be. It's difficult to score. The left main beam has a lot of palmation at the very end. I was very conservative on that score, so it could go up a little bit, may go down a little bit. But overall, what I have called it is a typical 10-point frame in there. There's 5 on the right, 5 on the left, and then everything else is extra junk or trash on this rack added to it. But again, in January, we'll come in here as a group, and I'll bounce ideas off of a few guys and gals, and then we'll give it an official score, and immediately we'll get sent to Boone and Crockett, and they will put it in their records, and probably they invite the top 5 every 3 years. Boone and Crockett has an awards banquet, and my guess is there's not going to be 6 or 5 that are bigger than that one killed in the country. I would say it will be the number 1 invitee in the spring of 2019 to their awards banquet, where it will be scored by a panel, looked at, and see if the score that we give it in January will hold up. But again, appreciate you bringing that, and hope that everybody can appreciate that we can grow good deer. But these are just freakish anomalies, but we do have these all across the state. Anything else? Anybody have any questions? Any questions about the hunt, or any questions from the commission about the rack itself, or the next step, or any process in it?
Mr. Tucker, is there anything you want to share with us about the hunt? You're getting to hold the rack all the time, and other people are talking, but if you wanted to talk, we'd love to hear from you, and you don't have to.
I don't really have that much to say about the hunt, except for I was just blessed.
That is great. I don't think you're going to have to buy a Christmas tree this year to hang ornaments on, that's for sure. And
After I shot it, it was just a feeling that you don't get from much of anything else. I couldn't hardly function. It took me about 5 minutes to reload my muzzleloader.
that is absolutely awesome. Of course, Trey Teague's over here going, I told you so. I told you they were here in Tennessee. And that's, do you both have time to stick around until the break? Well, the commission would love to get a picture with you, or I'll take a break now if you need to leave. I want to be very respectful of your time, because
We can wait how long till the break?
I'm guessing it may be close to 10 o'clock, another 30 minutes. Is that a problem for you all? Because it would be a privilege to have our picture made with you, if that's all right. And that includes you, Mrs. Tucker. I know you're having to go to a lot of these as well. Congratulations. That is a great, any of the commissioners want to offer any thoughts, or?
I have a question. Will we do any genetic testing on the deer?
I actually called our Mike Stockdale, who does a lot of our work, and he said we don't have a database, a baseline to actually look at that and see if it's related to or genetically related to the deer in the state or Sumner County area. So I actually did call and check on it.
Can we start?
I think that would be maybe a law enforcement budgetary request, maybe, to start doing something like that, yeah.
That was smooth. It's a budgetary request, may need a budget expansion, needs to be talked about later. That was pretty smooth.
What was the
Commissioner
age of
McMillan.
the deer?
I'm sorry.
What did y'all age the deer at?
Initially that night, we were in a pole barn, but a nice pole barn, scoring it. And I looked at the teeth, and I said, it looks like a 3.5 just based on the size of the body, the rack, and the teeth. But after looking at it closer since then, I feel like it's more of a 4.5-year-old deer.
Well, Commissioner Teague and I were discussing that maybe we could start capturing deer, and I'll pull the front teeth on them if that's what,
I don't
what
know.
it takes to get racks like that.
Very, very unusual. I've
Can we have
never
a
seen a
budget
deer like that.
expansion on that?
I will say one more comment. the day, that night, I think that night, wasn't one of the magazines weren't you on the phone with one of the magazines that night that I was scoring it? So word about this thing got out so fast, and that's the reason I called Doug initially and said, if this thing's killed, it's going to go crazy. It's going to be kind of the whitetail world biggest news they've had in a long time. So the next day, dispatch and my phone started ringing, and it was people, I didn't know who they were. They were magazine people, they were TV people, and they were wanting his number. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if he wanted to talk to him. I didn't know if he was getting bombarded. And so I called him, and he was getting unbelievable amounts of phone calls and requests to do interviews and to talk about the deer. So I said, do you want me to just forward those numbers to you? And he said, yeah. So I don't know what it's been like at his house, but I know my phone blew up, and I'm sure his has been still blowing up. I actually talked to someone yesterday about it and gave him his number.
Have you signed with an agent?
I practice law.
You
I
may
don't
need
know if you knew that.
Stephen, we really thank you for being here. Thanks for sticking around, Mrs. Tucker. Thank you. When you talked about the phone blowing up, I watched the expression on her face, and it was like, oh yeah, it was blowing up. Your phone too. Oh my goodness. Thank you all so much. Oh, it's our privilege. Let me assure you of that. So we look forward to the picture in just a few minutes. We'll move on. Commission recognizes Bill Reeves, Chief of the Biodiversity Division. I believe he has a presentation to make.
Commissioners and attendees, it's my pleasure to be here today to announce to you the award of the first annual Bob Hatcher Memorial Scholarship Fund. Those of you on the commission probably don't remember Bob because he retired several years ago, but he was one of the leaders in the agency. He was one of the people that everybody respected, everybody looked up to, and the thing that I was trying to think of something very concise to say about Bob because of all the work that he did in the agency over the years that he was here, but probably the most concise statement I could make is that if you are out in nature and you see an eagle nest with an eagle sitting in it, Bob probably had something to do with that eagle being there, either that bird or its parents. So he was our wildlife diversity endangered species coordinator. He was the first one that we had in the agency. And he did everything. Well, his passion was raptors. But he also worked extensively on aquatic species and really just everything that was out there that he needed to, that he saw that he needed to be involved in. So we set up this fund several years ago and got Julie involved in it, Julie Schuster, as the administrator of the fund, and she's also on our steering committee. So, and not to kind of plead to anybody here, but if you wanted to make a donation to that fund while you're here today, I'm sure Julie would be glad to take your check. But this award is specifically to a student in a university in Tennessee, open to all universities, who has a passion for ornithology, and because that's where Bob's passion was. So our steering committee is made up of several people: Jerry Hatcher, who is Bob's son, Julie Schuster, we all know, Cindy Rutledge, who is a representative for the Tennessee Ornithological Society, David Hanney. David, hold your hand up. He's on our staff in the Biodiversity Division. He's our bird conservation coordinator, and he's the chairman of the steering committee. And then Director Carter and myself are on the committee. So let me tell you a little bit about the young lady that we awarded this scholarship, this first scholarship to. Her name is Megan Hart. She's from Austin, excuse me, she's from Austin P University, and we selected her because of her academic excellence and her extracurricular activities in avian conservation, and as well her writing skills and her passion for field biology and the conservation and the conservation field. She learned it from her dad, who is a biologist. If you would raise your, yeah, thank you. And he actually had an opportunity in his work to have worked with Bob Hatcher on occasion many years ago. So it kind of brings it all together. So let me read to you, because this list is fairly long and I couldn't memorize this, but let me read to you what Megan has accomplished in her few years on this earth. She graduated in 2011 from Montgomery Central High School, just outside of Clarksville, with a 4.0 GPA. She received her bachelor's degree from Austin P in biological sciences in May 2015, again with a 4.0 GPA. There are a lot of us who only wish we could have done that. She's currently enrolled as a graduate student at Austin P, and her master's work is on the effects of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill and the nest success of the seaside sparrow. Her activities involve being the president of the American Fisheries Society at the chapter at Austin P, which may sound a little strange, but as I understand it, it's more of a biology group than strictly fisheries. Beta Biology Honors Club, volunteer with monitoring avian production and survivorship program at Clarks River National Wildlife Refuge, and Sharp Top Banding Station, volunteer with the Tennessee National Wildlife Refuge. Honors that she has received: Outstanding Biology Senior Award, member of Phi Kappa Phi, member of Alpha Lambda Delta Honors Fraternity, Who's Who in American Universities, member of the President's Emerging Leaders Program, recipient of the Dr. David Snyder Memorial Scholarship, and recipient of the Presidential Scholarship. And she's also received from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service a Volunteer Award. So it's with great pleasure, Megan, that we award you the first annual Bob Hatcher Scholarship. Is there anything that you would like to say at this point?
I'm just very honored to have been awarded this scholarship, and I will be graduating in August and presenting my research at the next big ornithological conference in August. So thank you, everybody. It's a great honor.
So could we get a photo op here? And we do have, actually, and being totally upfront with you, we gave her the money back in August so that she could use it this year in school, but we hadn't brought this to y'all's attention at this point. What? Well, I already did, yeah. So if we could, Director Carter, you might want to direct this event. Oh, and one thing, and I should have done this for a long time, into this, I forgot to mention that Bob's wife Betty is here, and his daughter Terry. And Jerry was supposed to be here. Is he not here?
He had some recent surgery and was not able to attend.
Oh, okay.